Hello, and you're all very welcome to this afternoon's webinar. We'll start in just a minute. People I know are coming on to lunchtime, and we have a large cohort with us today. So we'll start in just 1 minute. We'll give it maybe another 30 seconds just for people to arrive and for us to admit. I would ask you maybe just to mute as you arrive. We'll try and help with that. But as usual, if we could mute during the session, that would be terrific. So we'll maybe give it 30 seconds, and then if you'd go ahead with some housekeeping things, Lily, if that's okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Dermot said, can I ask you first and foremost to make sure your microphones are on mute? As you can see, we've a large number here this afternoon. So, just in terms of presenters and those speaking, just please keep your microphones on mute as we go on. Just in terms of the chat function, it's there. So if you have any questions throughout, please put them in the chat box and we will field as many as we can as we go or at the end. And other than that, back to you, Dermot.
Thanks so much, Lily. You're all very welcome again. Just in terms of a format today, just to give you an idea, I'm going to lead out with a short presentation on the current situation with regard to singing groups in Ireland, restrictions and possible return. And then we'll pass to Professor Jim Daus, who we're delighted to welcome to be here with us today. I'll introduce him more fully later. And we'll leave ample time for demonstration and also for questions and answers. And as Lily has said, if you do put those questions and answers in the chat, we'll try and field both questions we received in advance and also questions that arise during the session. So I'd like to lead out, as I say, by welcoming everyone. For those who I've not met before or don't know, I'm Dermot O'Callaghan. I'm CEO of Sing Ireland, and it's such a pleasure to welcome so many of you here again today. It shows yet again the vibrancy, great commitment and wonderful collegiality that we have seen from singing groups, singers and choirs throughout the pandemic. This afternoon, as I say, I'll lead out with the current situation in Ireland and more broadly across the world as singing groups are quite united in this, depending on where their vaccination rollout is. We'll then move to hear from Professor Jim Daus of the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark, the Rama Vocal Centre. We're so delighted that Jim can be with us here today to share his significant knowledge, expertise and insights into best practice in digital learning tools and methods. Digital learning has become such an important part of how we all must work at the moment. Thankfully, there are some silver linings to the pandemic, in that through necessity, so many have become proficient in digital means for delivery they never imagined. If you are less up to speed on the ways to deliver online to your singing groups and choirs, then I know that today's session will be extremely beneficial. So here we are in late February 2021, nearly a year on from the first lockdown in March 2020. As you all know, we are at level 5 in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. Most recently, earlier this week, the government in the Republic published its latest advice documentation titled COVID-19 Resilience and Recovery 2021, The Path Ahead. The past year has been extremely tough for so many, and with severe restrictions ongoing for much of society, not the least of which is the restrictions placed upon singing groups and singers throughout the country. At present, as I've said, we're at level 5, and at level 5, it's actually quite easy to remember. There are no indoor or outdoor gatherings or events. I'll just move to the next slide here. Just to give you, when we do get to indoor and outdoor gatherings and when they are possible at the levels, there are definitions there. So the definition of indoor and outdoor events in respect of music groups states that when singing groups can gather, and they can't at the moment, I have to be really careful about saying that, that when they can gather, they must be in a, quote, controlled environment, and that controlled environment should have a named event organizer, which would be, I suppose, your singing group most likely in most of your cases, and must have a named COVID officer from the group and have undertaken a risk assessment along with any other accompanying risk mitigations. We have extensively covered the ways that COVID-19 spreads when singing, and the research data that has been gathered and analysed from sources right across the globe in webinars over the past year. You'll find those many recordings on our website, and we will leave those videos and the fact sheet resources on our site under the COVID-19 tab, and we'll of course add to them as things progress. So leaving digital alternatives and solutions aside for a moment, knowing that we will return to them with Jim shortly, an obvious question that many are asking is when singing groups and choirs may be able to come back to singing face to face. The answer to that is, of course, we simply don't know right now. However, we can tell with certainty that singing groups won't be in a position to return until the levels reduce the severity of restrictions and until community transmission, cases, hospitalizations and deaths reduce in number. That is most likely, in our view, to be into the late spring/summer, given the timeline the government has set out. And alongside that, the vaccination program is continuing at pace. It is expected that we will have a large quantity of the various vaccines in the country over the next few months, and particularly come April and May, when the vaccine program will really ramp up and there'll be lots of vaccine in the country to be delivered. We therefore have hope that vaccinations will be successful in opening up society more, and therefore singing groups could consider returning to very safe and risk-assessed scenarios once the vaccination program is in full flight and the numbers nationally of cases is much lower. So we're thinking towards the late spring, summer, and I think it's safe to say that singing groups will most likely not be in a position to come back until the late summer, and hopefully, all going well, a larger cohort could then go back to the usual return to term in September. However, I genuinely think that even on working on that basis of having, there will need to be important risk mitigations in place. And those mitigations are now very clear for singing, namely that social distancing needs to be in place, mask wearing, ventilation, all about air traveling through a room, and strong protocols around risk assessment need to be undertaken. Again, you'll find lots of resources on our website to help with that. We have also seen through international research that the volume, loud or soft, of the singing can have an impact on how much aerosol is released. And so, of course, that will be another consideration. These restrictions will no doubt ease over time, but some of the realities of the pandemic may well be with us over the coming years, with them hopefully reducing into the future. I just wanted to share a video just on the topic of how aerosols and droplets transmit. One that many of you may have seen, but one that sorry, I just need to come out of the presentation. One that we had wanted to show at some point during the past months, but have not had the opportunity to. So you may have seen this, but it just shows on an axis. It's just a short minute long. Can everyone see that? Great. Just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and just how the plosives on the consonants and so on affect the way that they come out. And it's interesting just to watch. So you're watching you don't hear it, there's no sound, you're just watching the bottom left and then seeing how that comes out. So I'll just play that now. So do is quite plosive, as you can see. Re is not releasing that much. And they keep going here. So just reminding you to look here. Fa, fiddlesticks, causing problems there. And there's silence, so I'll fill the silence because there's no audio on the track, but just, yeah, I think it's just illustrative of the problem. And even the considerations when we come back and why masks are important and necessary evil, in my view. And I think what you can see mainly droplets here because they're quite large. You can see them, but there's some of the aerosols, which are these ones that float up into the air. They're lighter, and they stay in the air, and that's the difficulty there. So that's all I wanted to go into and just share that video with you. So with that shared, I just want to finish out by mentioning schools, actually, particularly given that their gradual return will be from next week. We can imagine that schools will be operating on a strict basis, given the return to schools will be dependent upon numbers continuing to decrease, and upon the virus remaining at low levels. Therefore, understandably, schools will have a reduced number of activities that they can partake in initially. That, in my view, would include singing, at least at first. When schools are more comfortable, they can start to have singing in short bursts with ventilation opportunities, and preferably just before leaving school or at a break when students and teachers will leave the classroom, allowing for adequate ventilation. So a short burst and then immediately into a clear space. And I think that's going to be the reality for schools. As has been the case throughout the pandemic, there are many unanswered questions here and ambiguous answers, even if those answers are coming. And I think those await us in the coming months as well. As has also been the case throughout, Sing Ireland is particularly mindful of the many music directors and musicians that have now moved into a very extended period of uncertainty and worry. We urge singing groups to continue to support those musicians, and indeed ourselves have been continuously lobbying government with others to ensure that support such as PUP and other interventions remain in place. However, with all of what I've said here done, we at Sing Ireland look forward to the day when we can have a powerful and, I know, emotional return to singing face to face that has been made all the richer by the many digital advances we have all made online. We're hopeful that have been continuously given even greater hope from the gathering of fantastic advocates and supporters of the group singing sector in Ireland that is represented here today. We're in the final, possibly long stage of what has been an exceptionally challenging time. We're all feeling it, and we're all wishing for an improved situation as soon as humanly possible. So that's all I wanted to say on that. What I didn't actually put up in the presentation, I did mean to, is just some guidance on indoor and outdoor gatherings, just on the levels, just tells you where they are on levels 3, 2 and 1. I think I just didn't put that up, so I might share that a little bit later just so people can see it, and we'll also share that in our resources afterward. So I'd like to, at this point, if it's okay with Jim Daus, pass to Jim. Welcome, Professor Jim Daus, as I've said, of the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark, the Rama Vocal Centre, a leader in digital learning and what he's describing as digital 24/7 at the moment. We're so delighted that he can be with us. And Jim, I'll pass to you. Thanks so much.
And thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here. And I recommend you all to go to Speaker View on Zoom. If you are on Gallery View, change to Speaker View, because I want to show you a few things directly on my screen before I share it. So this is also something I want to teach you how it can be done, to have something, another version of interaction. Yes. So I'm a teacher at the Royal Academy of Music, where I've been teaching choral conducting, pop, rock, jazz conducting for more than 20 years, and are the head of Rama Vocal Center. So the funny thing, or it's not funny because it's big crisis, but when it happened to us that we were locked down last year, we were already so much using distance learning, so it was not a crisis. It was like, how can we help other people to survive? We are missing a lot to sing together, but we have so many tools that hopefully some of them can be used for you as well. It's probably also going to be some old news because we've been in this for a lot of time now, but this is my take on it. So I wanted to be at home. So you see here I say stay home because that's how we are told to do. And then you could say the how to, blah, 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 when teaching online from home. I don't know if I have the answer, but this is my take. I think at least we want to keep the participants awake, right? So interaction, keep it short, make some contrasting elements and move on, and then I think we are all good. So instead of sharing my screen, which I will do, I promise you to share my screen, I will talk about music. So then maybe potentially you also learn something today, and you can see how I'm working with these things. So I've turned on my original sound in Zoom, and then I will switch from my room mic to my singing mic, and then I will start a progress to hopefully teach you something. I don't know if this makes sense in your native UK language, but heteropodian, hetero, different, and part is feet, so it's something about symmetric and asymmetric rhythm. Okay, I'll change my mic to go for this one. This is my singing mic. Maybe you hear a slight different, and then I'll activate this little ding ding helping tool here. Ding ding. So ding 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 ding. Let me first get into the groove. Ding 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 ding. Do you hear the sound? Ding 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 ding. All right. Ding 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 ding. You can start some subdivisions and start to think about what is the rhythmic structure for this pattern before I make a quiz. So on my screen you now see we have three options. First, feel a pulse. Maybe tap here if you feel comfortable about it. Tap the rhythm 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then see if it's 2, 3, 3, or 3, 3, 2, or 3, 2, 3. This ding, 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 ding. And show me with your finger if it's line 1, 2, or 3 you think. Ding, 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 ding. Marianne, you have a nice choice of an option. Yeah, it could be. It's depending on where you have your first downbeat. I believe it's number 1 because 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? So now it's asymmetric. I will add another voice and see. Do you think it's line 2 or 3 added to line 1? You can sing with it. You can do. Let's groove a little bit. Show me what you think it is, line 2 or 3. Show me on the screen, please. Patricia, the two of you are right. Yeah. Yeah. It's line number 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then I will add the middle one to have the whole groove up and running. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is line number 2. Altogether, I find it as a nice, solid, heteropodian, asymmetric groove instead of just 4 downbeats. I don't know what you think. Sing, improvise. Sing whatever you like. No one can hear you. Yeah, it's gonna be a nice weekend. Yes, well done, everyone. I will change back to the other mic. I will talk more about my setup, but I like, I don't know if you like it because it's just my take on it, but to have this direct interaction without sharing screen means that you decide if you want to go in and out of gallery view, my view, and have it like directly on the screen what we talk about. So this could be any information that you would like to give. For example, what is in digital learning? I see e-learning, distance learning, blended learning as ones. Like when we separate it and use it together, we have a lot of tools available, which I will talk a bit more about. So it's called Prezi, and you're gonna see it on the screen later, but it's Prezi, and it's a Prezi layer that you can implement to your Zoom meeting, as you see here. I can also, of course, take it away. Right, so it's time to share my screen, to have that element present as well, to give you some more concrete observations from my side and recommendations. So I'm gonna use something called Prezi Next, which is similar to PowerPoint but has another dynamic structure. And I share it with an option for sharing portion of screen, and not the whole screen, but a portion of screen, because I found out that the videos will run more smoothly. So when you go on full screen in a normal presentation, what you see on the other end will be with some blurriness, but here it gives you a better quality. Right, so very short, this is where I come from, this is where I teach, and I'm a professor. I've been that for 15 years at the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark. And I've been doing a lot of empirical research, as I told you, because our students are coming to our boot camp once per month for 5 days normally. So in between, we are very used to reach out and give each other's feedback and listen to concerts and go online all the time. So that's why we are kind of in sync with the situation. We have 2 boot camps, one in Aalborg and one in Aarhus, and that is the Royal Academy of Music. There's also another academy in Copenhagen called the Royal Danish Academy of Music. Okay, but today it's about teaching from home, because this is a situation. I want to show you how it looks where I am back home. I have other facilities when I'm at the school, but this is how it looks at home. So if I think I can do this, can't I? Yeah, I can. So I have a big screen where I can see all you beautiful people. I have an iMac, I have piano, I have mixing desk, audio interface, and 2 mics, and a robot camera, and another camera up here, to make it flexible in a room that I like a lot, with good sound and also light, I believe, is important. So I have this softbox up here to give like some kind of a home style look that I like. So I take control on what I send out. A new thing which you can see behind me is the green screen. I haven't had this for more than a month or something like that, and I'm still not sure if I'm gonna use it as much as today or not, but it gives like a background with some singers from my school, so at least it makes me happy to look at it sometimes, to remind me that this is what we are going back to. Yeah, more concrete here, I have nice speakers, a very fast interface, because when you want to reduce the latency, everything counts in the chain. Internet, forget about Wi-Fi. You should immediately order a cable called Cat6 or faster, directly routed to your Wi-Fi router. Wi-Fi has a weather, it has bad weather, good weather, all types of weather. It doesn't work, in my opinion. So plug in directly and it will be a much better performance on both ends. No doubt about it. It's very cheap, and I don't know, see why we shouldn't do it. I have this mixing desk because then I can route my loop station, piano, different type of mics, and produce, for example, I can give it a nice delay if I think I'm gonna sing, you know, something for people like, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. It gives me a little more confidence that I hear there's a reverb and a sound designed as well. All it takes is a little mixing desk that you put into your chain just before the computer. Yes, what more? Projector, boring, that's to have the big screen, you don't need that. So, more interesting is the thinking asynchronous or synchronous. What are the options from my side? My opinion is that it's good to have interaction. I learned a lot from the pandemic, still learning that when we don't meet and sing, people actually want to do something that is not only survival for, you know, Zoom meetings and, you know, for the social aspect. They want to also be taught something. So I recommend this tool. Unfortunately, it's only for iPhones and iPads, and it's a pity. I hope they will also make it for Androids. I will talk to them about it. But what it does is to, on your fingertip, send the link to the singers and ask them to, you know, sing the same as, for example, Claire. She will sing track 1, and then another person could sing track number 2, and then they can on the side agree on something about dynamics or sing a song together, or, you know, when they have time. So this is something you can do on the side, and this is how it works with me and a student. So I gave her window number 1, and then I wanted her to fill in herself on her smartphone. So it doesn't take any design or any minutes to learn it, really. It's just, you know, plug and play. And then I use something called vocal painting, which is my musical baby, where we can improvise, structured improvisation. But let's have a look at it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Then it goes on, and it's like 4 minutes long. I show her some of these vocal painting gestures that now you should sing on long notes, change to short notes, have a fermata, half step up, new tonality, and move on. So she can really reflect and practice this. I call it kitchen singing, something that you can prepare back home, so that when we meet next time, we don't need to practice in front of each other. We can actually do that on the side. The technique is called flipped classroom. So flipped classroom, I believe, can be improved in some innovation for modern choir leading, choir conducting. Yes, so asynchronous, it's a nice tool. Let me see, there's, no, exactly, good. So, synchronous, which is very interesting, right? Because can we sing anyway? And I know that you have had a talk about Jamelos or a presentation or something. So there are several versions, but it takes quite some effort, and there are never a guarantee that it works, because when you, I mean, from your end, for example, me being a teacher and a conductor, I know all my equipment, I have good internet, it works. But the singers may be on a poor Wi-Fi and don't have time and the interest to make this happen. So it's like, is it worth it or not? But it's an option. And I want to show you 2 options that I believe in that can work for smaller groups. So first of all, think about if you really need to meet with all 60 singers, Or, for example, say, let's do half an hour, because less is more, in my opinion. Half an hour with 15 or less. Another half an hour. You could take one voice group at a time or whatever. So these systems works quite well up to, I could almost guarantee, 12 people. So if you can live with that, this is relatively plug and play-ish. And now you want to see it in action, I believe. We don't want to switch all of us to Sonobus. We can do that another time. But Jam first with my colleague, and this is now what we do to prepare our boot camps. He lives far away from my side, so
when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of doubt, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Solo.
yeah. So at least we have a cozy time, and up to 12 it's possible. The next system is called Sonobus, which is a newer innovation from last year, October last year. It's Jamkasam, you need to pay. Sonobus is free. I don't know if you know it, but the next example is where I meet with 3 part-time students, one situated in Iceland, one from Norway, and one from UK, and me from Denmark. And they downloaded it, they activated it, and this is what we had within 1 hour.
Sorry to interrupt, Jim. Just a quick question.
Yes, go.
Just wondered, and maybe we can cover this later in Q&A, but just
Yeah.
in terms of audio interfaces for Jamkazam, is one required and so on?
Yeah, there is a list. They made a list on Jamkasam that is the same list. Actually, Sonobus recommend to check out the Jamkasam list. So it's all written, and Focusrite, RME, Apollo, you know, more high-end audio boxes, audio interfaces has like a very low latency, so they are recommended. So yeah, forget it if you have an old computer, Wi-Fi, and you can't just plug in your headset directly to the computer, because the in and out is too delayed. But there is a clear list on the Jamkasam website.
Right, we're just sharing that in the chat there as well, so you can check it out, and we'll share resources afterwards. Thanks so much. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. And here, Sonobus and people from around. The one from Iceland, I mean, it's a long distance from where I am to Iceland, I can tell you that. On the public internet, she being on Wi-Fi on day one, and we were still singing together. I think this is promising for this system. Yeah. So Jamulus, in my opinion, takes more work, but is good for larger groups because it goes through a server, central server. It takes more work and knowledge. This here you have a better chance, in my opinion, to have a success with smaller ensembles. Okay, I hope point is taken. Right. What more to say? The tech side, just to not forget what I talked about, my everyday life is with Zoom for video conferencing. I also use Zoom when I'm in Jamkasam. I also use Zoom when I am in Sonobus, because Sonobus is only audio, so you need also a video connection. And there is no problem having both apps running at the same time, which they also claim on their website. And it works. Just mute the sound on Zoom and have the audio from Sonobus. Right. This is the name of the presentation app I use. Prezi Next is the PowerPoint. Prezi Video is where you can have a layer on your Zoom camera. The app is called Acapella, unfortunately only for iOS. And then I use Moodle, both for choirs and students. It's a learning management system, LMS, where because I figured out that if people have too many ways to go, I mean, first they have to log in here and then log in here and blah blah blah, they get lost too easily. So I use a central system like an LMS to say log in, and when you are logged in, everything you're gonna need for the rehearsal, the sheets, the link to Zoom, the link to this and that, will be guided directly from here. So that raised the success remarkable, actually. So I use that every day. So for low latency, I did not talk about LOLA, but I want you to know that LOLA means, yeah, shortcut for low latency, is an Italian system for higher education universities. You can't use it private, so that's why it's not relevant today, but it's good to know that it exists if you are not aware of it, because if you are teaching at a university, you might activate it because it uses the education network. There is like a specific network in the world where you are not involved in the public network. So that's why the latency will be very low. Up to 3,500 kilometers, you can have a latency not more than 15 milliseconds in the round trip. And this is amazing. And you can have 3 endpoints connected at the same time. So we can sing with people in Helsinki and people in London, for example, at the same time. And no compressed audio, no nothing. It's really amazing. We are not there for the home style yet. Here's a web for Sonobus and for Jamkasam and Jamulus. My gear is a quite long list, but it's also my hobby a little bit. I'm 50 years old. I'm worth it, I think. I have 4 children. I've done my job. I want to also have some time for myself here in this little studio. So iMac, this is my audio interface, very fast, relatively, yeah, it's both cheap and expensive at the same time. Mixing desk, Alan Heath, a Logitech 4K webcam. This is the webcam. It's fairly cheap. So if you have another webcam, you can, with almost no investment, have a Logitech Brio 4K webcam, and it looks much more clear with a little softbox light. Yeah. This is more expensive, PTZ Pro 2. I didn't use it today. It's like a robot camera that can follow my movements if I'm walking around and showing conducting and stuff. Oh, Shure the room mic for, because then I can, you still hear me from here. Hello, hello. It's a bit more flexible than a singing close mic, which is good for singing. So I use 2 mics. I have some monitors. I have a stream deck. Oh, I want to show this as well, because this saves a lot of time. I'll stop my share so you might have a better chance if you go to speaker view. This is a desk where I have all the shortcuts for everything I want. I can mute the mic, I can turn Zoom, I can share my screen, I can do a lot of things instead of searching for where to do it. Stream Deck it's called, and awesome piece of tool if you are gonna need it. Yeah, I have a few more minutes here, so portion of screen. Back to business. Yes. So Stream Deck XL, it also has like smaller versions if you only need like 6 buttons or something. I have this loop station, which I like to use a lot to practice my own skills during the pandemic, because why not improve my musical skills by improvising and stuff. I have a piano. I have a Beamer and an Elgato green screen that I told you, which is fairly new, so I don't know how to use it yet, but I wanted to activate it today so you could see and discuss maybe with yourself if you like it or not. I don't know. Yeah. So the last thing maybe before with the Q&A in 2 minutes is because I really wanted to go back to this overview and say, not content, not lab, here. My school. This is my room that I miss badly at the moment, where you can see the Lola system in action, where I'm having half of the choir 150 kilometers away and the other half of the choir in this room. And we are singing together with this Italian Lola system, which has 1 gigabit up and down. So this is the last thing for me.
Good thing like to rehearse.
Yeah. Yes, so
We're on mute, Jim, I'm afraid. Oh, it's on purpose.
yeah, it was because suddenly it disappeared. The video disappeared and it was clapping, and I think I wouldn't be too noisy, so sorry for that. Yes. So digital learning 24/7 to me means that I think when you have a room, a place where you know the internet is good, the computer, the mic, what is it that you need? One size doesn't fit all, of course, so this was just my take. But it took a lot of pressure off my shoulders to dedicate this room for this to happen, and makes it easier to survive and be innovative. Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jim. That was fascinating. And what I think was really interesting to see is, of course, you can have all of that equipment, but what you can do with lesser parts of it and investing in different elements of the different pieces of gear you have. So really helpful to have that list. And can I just check with you, you're happy for us to share this afterwards, just the PowerPoint or the Prezi, for people to see that list again?
Yes, I can make a PDF version and send it to you.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. And we'll share with everybody. I know there are questions coming in. Let's stay with digital for the moment, because there are a couple of things I'd love to come back to. I know there were a couple of questions on restrictions and so on, but Lily, can I pass to yourself on any questions? Even ones that we've answered there, I think would be useful for the whole group to see.
Perfect, no problem. So I suppose I'll work from the top down. So just for the a cappella app, does everybody involved need to have personally own it and download it onto their phone?
Yes, they have. The standard version, you can only record 1 minute, but if the conductor will pay for it, you can record 10 minutes, and then everyone else you want to share with can also record up to 10 minutes. So
Perfect. Do you need an audio face for Jamkazam and Sonobus?
yes, you do. The in and out interface in the computer are not meant to be for fast in and out. It's too slow and doesn't work. But a nice fast audio box is not very expensive. And for example, in the chat, Focusrite, this brand, you can easily get it. It's called Focusrite 2-in-2, fairly cheap and fast and good. And the color is red. Right, Claire, you have it. So this is a gift from you to you. You need it for sure.
Perfect. And for Jamkazam and Sonobus, are they available on iOS or Android? Or are they only for desktop operating systems?
Oh, sorry. Say it again, the first line.
No.
Sorry.
Are Jamkazam and Sonobus available for iOS and Android or just for desktop?
Sonobus are for both computer and phones, tablets. That's what they claim. I haven't had time to test it myself, but they are claiming that you can try it out also on a smartphone and Android and everything. But it needs more testing from my side before I can say for sure. I'm not sure about Jamkazam. I think it's only a computer app, but I'm not sure.
Perfect. So go off and explore and have a bit of fun. And one question that you may or may not know the answer to, but somebody in the room may know: has anyone tried using Clean Feed with Zoom? It's not one I have ever heard of.
If anyone knows of it and can provide any insight, do put up a hand, a digital hand there in the chat. We'll look into it. A Clean Feed, is it?
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll check it out if not.
Perfect. And then the last question for yourself, Dermot, just in regards to restrictions. In regards to leaving cert practicals, no information has been provided. Teachers are just kind of wondering in regard to rehearsals what they should do.
Yeah, we don't have the answer to that, I'm afraid, in that I think schools want to get back, and then I know the Department of Education are looking at it. What I would commit to doing, I think it was Anya was asking that, Anya Mulvey. Anya, I'll make another inquiry to see if I can get any sort of answer on it, even off the record or something like that. I'm sure once, I mean, it's going to be an obvious question for schools around practicals and oral exams, obviously, as well. So yeah, Lily.
Apparently a letter went to the department, to schools last night, according to David in the chat.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. Hopefully there's an answer there. And as well as that, we'll try and get some further information to help to clarify it. I just briefly wanted to go back, and I know, actually, I had a couple of very quick questions, Jim, if that's okay. Firstly, thank you for mentioning LoLab, because I know we did have some in universities and so on with us today, so that would be interesting for them if they're not already using it. And I just wondered if, I suppose, in terms of Zoom, and I'm trying to get a sense of, if you're running a rehearsal only on Zoom and most other people are just on Zoom, they don't have an audio interface or whatever, what have you found works well for you in terms of Zoom, or do you even manage any sessions in that way?
We do a lot of sessions in Zoom only, and if the question is concrete for running a choir, I believe that's like how do you do it when it's like running the choir? First of all, I do less minutes, much less. So for the social aspects, my choirs still meet, but we are doing other things as well. So we had goals that we want to, for example, learn 3 new arrangements. Not 5 or 8, but 3 new in the slow cooking format, where I play and go through the voice parts, and they check in with me, you know, I do it, and so on and so on. And then we believe that when we meet, we got to know new stuff. Then I also like to talk about music history, because they want to learn something, and maybe say, I will bring my favorite choral pieces next time from this century. And then they know that, yeah, bring a cup of tea and we're going to listen to beautiful music. So it's like being flexible and think out of the box. 1-to-1 doesn't work. And I think that 2 + 2 can be 5 if you also give them more knowledge on a broader perspective. Music history, ear training, theory, for example, heteropodian style, but not for a long time. So for me, 60 minutes in real life are 40 minutes online. It's my own little calculation. So I'd rather leave them hungry than do 1-to-1 sessions with us. Say it doesn't work. And also often have them separate, like one voice group at a time, or having like a bass, tenor, alto, soprano, to shadow each other and do some other things. I use a lot of the breakout rooms to let them talk about things and adjust from rhythm, intonation, sound, interpretation, and performance. And we shouldn't talk about what to wear in the next concert in real life. We can do that on Zoom, right? It's always a topic, what to wear. We have plenty of time for all these boring things that we have to deal with anyway.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. And actually, sometimes I know from queries we've gotten and speaking to choirs, they're really trying to replicate what they did face to face on Zoom. And of course, that's not possible, as is really abundantly clear as everyone goes into rehearsal. So you all know that. But I think actually thinking about very short burst sessions, as Jim has said, I totally agree with that. 60 minutes is 40 minutes and 50 minutes is 30 or whatever. I think that's really important, and that maybe you fill it with a social aspect or a different element. I'm glad you mentioned choir dress, because it's a very controversial topic, which can take hours to try and sort. So it's certainly a conversation that people would be better off to have in the Zoom setting rather than a row in person. But there are lots of, I just think it's a very different approach that's required to actually have a successful and fulfilling experience on Zoom. Because for a lot of us, I think when you go on and do a singing rehearsal on Zoom, if it's just singing for the entire time, because there's no feedback, immediate feedback as we want in a rehearsal, it's just a completely different experience. So needs a completely different approach. There are lots of questions I know around in the chat now coming in on restrictions and that kind of thing. So I'm just, there was one technical one there I did notice. Any comment on Jack Trip and digital stage, Jim? I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Trip and digital stage. I have some thoughts, but maybe you know.
It's same but different, but it's a part of the digital family. Jack Trip, fine. It needs, like with Gemellus, from my opinion, a technical knowledge and effort, but then you can have a great result. The digital stage, I don't know much about yet, but I'm invited to be a test pilot to try it out, and I think we are going to start it already next week. But to me, it seems a little bit same, because it is same. So it's more like try to find something that you like. That is not, if it works, it works, but can it work better? So my recommendation, again, for larger groups, it's the biggest challenge. And then there, I think Gemellus is worth giving a try for smaller groups. And why not keep it more simple? Smaller groups, go for a Jam Kasam or a Sonobus. Maybe some of the other things as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's the case. And actually, everyone is just looking for the silver bullet answer to low latency, which is a browser version that you can just use your inbuilt microphone on, and just the technology is not there. I mean, that's the reality. You need another system. You need Jam Kazam, you need a Jack Trip, digital stage, or something else in order to reduce latency as it stands at the moment. Things are progressing all the time, but it's not likely to be a quick solution, unfortunately, I think. So it's a question that comes to us all the time. Jim, I want to say thanks so much. We're going to continue on till about 2:10. I'm also conscious this may be lunchtime for others, but I do want to get to the questions on restrictions and everything. But maybe at this point, rather than keep Jim here any longer, to thank him so much for his time and his expertise. And we're really grateful for all of the insights you've given us today.
Thank you very much. And here's my email address. If anyone has further comments or a question or something, I could help guiding to someone that knows maybe more, if you like it. Okay, thanks. Have a nice day and weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. So as I said, I'm conscious it's lunchtime for many, so we won't continue on too much further. And feel free, obviously, if you need to go, you go. But we are I did want to share that presentation, as I was saying earlier, that I didn't, just around the levels. So just this is just the really basic info around what is possible with indoor events at each level. Level 5 is clear, no organized indoor or outdoor event should take place. Level 4 is the same. Level 3 is the same. Outdoors, you can have gatherings of up to 15 people as it stands at the moment, but I would just preface that by saying that when and if we go to a level 3, I'm sure that will come with further maybe tweaks and things as we've seen throughout. So just to, I suppose, be mindful that that mightn't be exactly true when we get there, but we'll see that. At level 2, we're going to 50 patrons in pods or groups and of up to 6 if appropriate indoors, with arrangements to ensure no intermingling of groups. And then outdoors is 100 patrons, sorry, I'm mixing them up, but the 100 patrons is permitted for larger venues. But you can imagine in churches or large halls that there might be possibilities, but that's a case-by-case basis, I think. And then outdoors is 100 patrons when we get to level 2, and 200 patrons. And again, all events need to have a named, be a controlled environment, which means there is a responsible party, be that your choir or a COVID officer, including a COVID officer, and with risk assessment. Lily, I might jump to you just for some of the questions that are there. I see them, but maybe if you'd field them, that would be great.
Yeah, just in regards to the Leaving Cert practicals, David kindly mentioned that in the Irish Independent, it mentioned that revised arrangements are being made for them and they're expected to take place over Easter, and engagement with public health officials is ongoing. So basically no 100% clarification at the moment, but watch this space.
Great. And are there other questions there? There were around vaccinations and that kind of thing I saw.
Yeah, there was a kind of a lot of chat in and around vaccinations, and if an entire group was vaccinated, could we return? At the moment, I don't believe we actually know that answer. It will all depend on restrictions at the time and public health advice. Other people were wondering, does this mean if you're vaccinated, you can't infect others? At the moment, again, it's currently not known amongst the science, which is why even those who are vaccinated still need to wear masks out and about and socially distance. So we have to continue doing other risk mitigation at the moment until the science is further known.
Absolutely. And I think really the vaccination, just add to what Lily's saying, the vaccination situation is going to be undoubtedly that some people will be vaccinated, some will not have wanted to take the vaccine, and then it's really going to be an issue for each choir as to what they are happy with. Once adhering to public health advice, it's going to be something that I know will be contentious and interesting for choirs when they're thinking about, okay, well, I'm not going back to choir if that person isn't vaccinated, or vice versa. That there's lots of exciting conversations and probably animated conversations coming at us over the next few months.
Yeah, I think in regards to groups gathering and things like that, I'm sure there will be further advice issued from public health as well. So I don't think everyone will be left in the dark entirely.
Yeah, and I see, I think Catherine McCarthy mentioned in the chat that, you can still carry the virus if you've had it or if you've had the vaccine. So Luke O'Neill, who was with us before Christmas, was mentioning that it stays particularly in the mouth, nose, throat, and volumes of it can unfortunately still be with you, even if you are maybe have an immunity through the vaccine or through having had it before. So I think it will be important just to, I think it's not going to be as simple as, and everyone knows this, no, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but when we go back, it's not going to be a case of, okay, we all have no masks, we all are not. So as I was saying at the start, it's going to require social distancing and all that kind of thing. But actually, I'm just more hopeful now. I mean,
Dermot, you have just muted yourself.
Sorry, we could be in a situation where there isn't a vaccine. I think we have to keep this is as much, I'm saying this for myself as much as anybody else, where we have to really think about being hopeful and keeping the faith around it, as Roisin's mentioning in the chat. We will get back. We have a possibility to come back. This time last year, we had no idea. Well, we had no idea, but coming into March, we really had no idea when this might end. I don't think even the most pessimistic would have thought maybe this would continue just as long. Because we didn't know and we didn't have the knowledge. But I think we will be back. We have a possibility to be back, and that's the message I think to keep close to you. It might take some time, but we'll get there. And unless there are any urgent other questions, and do feel free to unmute and ask a question, by the way, if there's anything you didn't put in the chat. But I think we will start to finish up, unless there's anything I haven't covered, Lily or Claire.
No, I think just from myself, thank you all for joining us and continuing your support of Sing Ireland. We greatly appreciate your engagement and support of what we do. We wouldn't be able to keep doing these webinars without you. So please do stay in touch and watch this space for further events. Absolutely. And just to finish out, to thank the Sing Ireland team, to thank Lily and Claire, and to thank the board who are so passionately and well engaged with us through this whole period for the sector and for Sing Ireland. And I also want to thank the Arts Council of Ireland, because without them, we wouldn't be an organisation that's able to provide these sorts of events for you. So thank you very much. Please do stay in touch. Always do come to our website we will be announcing future webinars. Oh, I didn't share that slide. We will be announcing future webinars and events and information around our usual summer courses, like our youth choirs and conducting courses. They'll be very imminently. You'll see information on that. So do keep an eye out. Look at singireland.ie and our social media, and we'll hope to see you all very soon again. Thanks so much. And if we want to unmute to say goodbye, I always think it's nice. You don't have to, but if you'd like to, please do.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. It's great.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.